Women Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Linda Crater celebrate the thoughts and opinions of magnetic, spirited, and influential women. Each week, bold, brilliant women spark vigorous conversations on the complexities of life, love, and happiness. Now here are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Linda Crater.
Hey, ladies, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Linda Crater, and this is Dynamic Women Talk Radio, and we're visiting today with... Oh, hold on, you guys. I just have to answer this call. Oh my God, I have another call coming in. So just hold on.
Can't imagine what this topic is today.
While I'm sitting here, you guys just all wait for me. I'm going to have my candy bar. Today's show is on manners. Manners matter. And we're visiting with Kimberly Rinaldi and Lou Paget. And no, I was not on the phone. Yes, I was eating a candy bar. But my point was, this is what we deal with. We deal with people who pause in the middle of dinner, in the middle of a conversation to answer a phone. They eat and crunch in my ear on a daily basis. Do you know, recently I had a guy answer the phone in the shower because he could. And I'm like, what is that? Is that water? And I'm like, are you peeing? What? And he's like, no. He goes, I saw it was you, so I just picked it up in the shower. And I'm like, well, you can lather, rinse, and repeat and get back to me.
Thanks for the visual.
Yes. So I think that there's so many things. I don't even know where to begin about manners. I mean, the manners of the kids calling me by my first name. I am over 40 years old, and I am not Sandra to you. You're correct. It's just really hard, you guys. I don't even know what... I know what was appropriate to me, and I've been criticized as having snotty East Coast manners.
Okay, stop right there. Okay. All three of you today are from the East Coast, and I'm the only one from the East Coast. So we I guess I have to talk 3 times as much.
Well, you're in California. We have no manners.
Well, I'm
California casual.
Yeah. No, I'm Canadian. I got raised with manners, and I don't have any guilt because I'm not Jewish or Catholic. It's never bothered me. But if I think something is inappropriate, oh my God, that'll stop me on a dime. This is Lou, by the way. And
I have to tell you the best Lou story ever. I just moved to Los Angeles from the East Coast, and we met because we were apartment mates. We were apartments across from each other. And I think I was crying, and Lou became my friend. And we talked about a spider in an elevator, just a long story. But we went out to dinner at this seafood restaurant. And Lou looked rockin' foxy. She had on like this white pantsuit, this white top. Really nice restaurant. I don't know if you remember this, Lou. I mean, some sticky, grubby little kid. Now, granted, I have sticky, grubby little kids, but I don't bring them to nice restaurants.
Right.
And just let them loose. Like, this kid was just going to come over to Lou with, like, just filth everywhere in her white outfit. And Lou just looked at him. She's like, kindly control your spawn. First of all, it was inappropriate to bring a toddler to this nice restaurant. Secondly, the child was not under any sort of control, and the child was grubby and sticky. And it was like one of the best moments of my life because Lou just established that boundary right then and there. And you didn't even care what other people thought. I was like all bow down like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Well, and I wasn't trying to be awful. I was just like, well, first off, the person was not paying any attention to her uncontrolled spawn. Seriously. And so I was like, okay, it takes a village. I'm going to be that village today. When I remember, and here's the thing, ladies, before I got into doing my seminars in the area of sexuality, the one thing that I knew the most about was actually manners, etiquette, and deportment. And I got raised with that. And I realized that manners are not that thing of like, oh, I'm so much better than someone, or I know this and you don't. Manners are not about which frickin' fork to use, okay?
No, they're not.
Really, What manners are, in my mind, is they are a way of being acknowledging to people and being inclusive to people. People who have tremendous manners are excellent hosts. They are aware of people, and it isn't, oh, sit this way, dress that way. I mean, I see some people who are attempting. There's one guy, honest to goodness, on this one website that I look at, and I could face palm every time he starts writing about how you're supposed to have manners X, Y, Z. Makes me nuts because he doesn't know his ankle from page 8. He's just trying to act like he's from the upper crust in Britain.
Well, don't you guys think that manners exist to kind of ease situations? Like when I know, like you go to a wedding, you sit at the table where the card tells you to. It's just not a free-for-all of who gets the top table.
Mm-hmm. It's Grace. This is Kimberly here. It's Grace. It's about making other people feel comfortable. And I love your story about Lou. I'm a little less socially kind. I've been known to stand up and say the purpose of having children is to raise them so other people can stand to be around them.
That's a good boundary, too.
Yeah, just saying. But I have a hot topic right now, and it's a customer service issue. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this. It's become a real big trend. Somebody out there in customer service land will do something, you say, thank you, and they respond with, not a problem.
Well,
I think I'm asking exactly how would it have been a problem to do your job? Please walk me through this.
This is Lou again. I remember, I think it was Ellen was interviewing Jerry Seinfeld, and she asked him, what do you think, what's the issue that we're dealing with the most now on a social level? And he said, lack of manners. And I could not agree with him more.
Yeah.
It's like no one has taught someone how to say thank you, how to open a door, how to do, a polite phone call. Anyone, and I'm like, wow. And now you drive down the street and people are flashing the bird at you and everyone, and it's like, when did we devolve into just sort of like these gross barbarians? I don't know when that happened. Was it 10 years ago or 15?
I think it's with the rise of technology, we've become so isolated. We're our own little islands, and we don't care about if we bump into anybody else's. I love this quote by Clarence Thomas because I think it says what you were all saying. Mm-hmm. Good manners will open doors that the best education cannot. You don't have to be well educated, but if you have manners, you can pretty much get through any situation at any time.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
Well, and manners, I say to my kids, manners matter. Manners, put people at ease. Manners help us all get along. How about that? But, I'm going to blame, media. I
am too.
Media, because when I watch shows with my kids, the kids portrayed in the media are wiseacres. They're smart mouths. And the men are portrayed as big, dumb oafs, and the women are kind of like these smart, bitchy women. And
snarky,
and we watch these prototypes, and people actually walk away from that going, this is acceptable behavior. They don't draw the line between, well, that's entertainment. That was supposed to be funny. That's not appropriate to do that. X, Y, and Z in your house. I've had it in my own household with The Simpsons and with some of these comments.
I was going to bring up The Simpsons.
I didn't allow my kids to watch The Simpsons. But go back all the way to The Three Stooges. I wasn't allowed to watch The Three Stooges because they were rude and poked fun at each other at the expense of somebody else.
Each other in the eye.
Yeah, well, there is that. Yeah.
Now, okay, let me throw this one out. This is Lou. Who taught you and gave you your best lessons in the area of manners?
My mom.
My
mom.
Yeah.
Mother as well. And certain things were just simply not acceptable. Mm-hmm. I could not wear jeans to the dinner table. And we had the family, we sat for dinner every night. And it was just, that was just part of how we were raised. Now, was it slightly strict in that manner? Yeah, but it was also, for heaven's sakes, if the food's been prepared, the least we can do is show up on time, right?
Being on time is a huge problem that people ignore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this is Lou again. I remember having a friend of mine who he was dating this woman who he was just crazy about, but he said, I could not deal with the fact that she was always late. And he said, finally, he said, when I broke up with her, he said, I told her, look, you travel, you have a business, you do all of this. You're never late for a plane, but you're always late for me. That tells me that this is not going anywhere.
He's
Boom.
right.
Good boundary, yeah.
He's right.
Yeah.
Here's the one that I really dislike. When you're talking to someone on the phone and somebody comes into the room or they talk to their dog or they talk to someone else. When we were growing up, we were taught to put our hand over the receiver and say, excuse me a moment, and deal with it quietly. You'd press the phone up against your chest to keep it quiet and muted, and you would deal with it. These days, I've literally said to people, are you talking to me? And they're not.
Right. And, well, San, you have got to have some good stories from kids.
Oh my God, I could go all day, but we got to go to commercial break in 2 minutes. But yeah, I mean, my favorite recently was a little 4-year-old that told me to fuck off. And
what?
Yeah. And I looked at her and I said, what did you say? She said, fuck off. And I said, okay, good job, Mom.
Wow.
Because where does that kid learn that? And she didn't know even how to use it right. She just thought it was what she was supposed to say, get out of my way. That's going to be a one that's hard to top.
Wow. Was Mom around?
Oh, yeah, Mom was standing right there. And she's like, I don't know where she gets it from. I'm like, yeah, right.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
She learned it in the vacuum. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
that Cabbage Patch.
Yeah, if you don't get it modeled, you're not going to follow it. Anyway, we are going on a commercial break, and we are talking today about manners with Sandra Beck in Los Angeles, Lou Paget in Los Angeles, Kimberly Rinaldi in Los Angeles, and I'm Linda Crater, and I'm here on the East Coast in Washington, D.C., and we have universally discovered that manners are not very complete or even occurring in most places these days. We'll be back right after this break talking more about manners of all kinds. Stay tuned. We're Dynamic Women Talk Radio, and we'll return after these short messages.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
It's easy to fall into the trap of fad dieting. Some look so simple, effortless, and satisfying. But that's not always reality. If you need to lose weight, it's very important to your health and well-being that you do. Being overweight brings a whole host of problems, physically, mentally, and emotionally. But the way to achieve permanent, long-lasting weight loss is to build healthy habits that will last a lifetime. Most people who have lost weight and kept it off have made lifestyle changes with low-calorie healthy eating and daily exercise that they can continue the rest of their lives. But some have gone on fad diets, like liquid diets, prepared food diets, or dramatically reduced calories and have lost unwanted pounds, only to put the weight back on eventually. It's time to build healthy eating habits that will keep the weight off permanently. You can do it.
July is National Ice Cream Month, as if we needed a reason to celebrate ice cream. Would you believe the average American eats 45.8 pints of ice cream a year? Here's the scoop on some ice cream lingo. In Pennsylvania, the paper cone used to hold ice cream is called a tut. Sprinkles or jimmies on top of ice cream are called ants in California and outsiders and logs in Vermont. The world record for ice cream eating is 1.75 gallons in 8 minutes. Oh, I feel a brain freeze coming on. What's another word for brain freeze? Sphenopalatine ganglioneuralgia. I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
Hey, ladies, this is Sandra Beck. I'm here with Linda Crater and Lou Padgett and Kimberly Rinaldi, and we are talking about manners. And, you know, one of my big things about manners, you guys, is if you have good manners or you raise your kids with good manners, they get more opportunities. I see my kids, and they are well-mannered. They know how to conduct themselves at somebody else's house, and they get invited to everything. They get invited to trips I can't afford. They get to go to places that I can't bring them to, you know, private clubs, private places, because the kids know how to behave. But on a bigger level, knowing how to behave makes things less stressful. And I believe manners exist to make things less stressful because, you know, good manners dictate that when you have a wedding and you send out a nice formal invitation and it's an evening wedding at 5:00, I would think that that means wear dinner cocktail attire. Very nice. I showed up in the middle of the Northern Vineyards in Northern California. The bride's barefoot, the groom like some sort of hippie. And I showed up in heels and a ball gown. And I'm like, if you have ever tried to walk through a vineyard in heels, like, forget it. I was so mad, you guys. I took my gift home. I just was like, done and done. You don't have the common sense. God gave a goose, and there's probably a goose in the wedding party at this point. So I was so stressed out from that. I'm still traumatized. Like 20 years later, I got my hair blown out. I got my nails done. I put a lot of effort into being part of a special event the way I understood it. Formal invitation, the time, all these rules, quote unquote, helped guide my behavior. Well, I looked like a total idiot. I felt like an idiot. I was stressed out beyond belief, and I got in my convertible and went home. So how did that help? Like, when we don't have manners, when we don't have rules, we don't know what to do.
Well, and here's the thing. Whenever you're inviting someone to something, you have got to have the wherewithal in your head to go, how are people going to view this? And then give them the parameters. But San, I was saying before that, and this is Lou, by the way, our friend, Maura, her parents did a lot of very high-level entertaining. Black Tie Affair, RSVP, and this was 15 years ago plus. And even then, and they are, you know, Pasadena family, people would not RSVP even to black tie events. And
it's so rude.
It's so astonishingly rude. And the other thing with it is that manners are to make things go smoothly. We've talked about it. But it's also, you know, you introduce yourself to someone, you say, how are you? It's a pleasure to meet you. And, you know, most people who are in their 20s and below have no clue how to do this. 20s and 30s, I don't know. They have, as you said, San, they call you by your first name. You are not their peer.
No.
And that's something that, look, and they also have this thing about, well, I can just approach whoever I want and get from a business standpoint, I can just reach out and hold it. I hate that. Let me reach out.
No,
and, you know,
I agree with you.
You know, just get information from me that's my information. And they're saying, can you just please respond back on this? Thanks. No.
You reach out to me, I'll bite your fingers off. Like,
I'd like to pick your brain. Really? It's lovely.
Well, but it's what it is, it's that entitlement. It's that me mentality that it's like, you know, I want this and I want you to give it to me and I'm going to minimize your part in it so you'll feel like you're better. Like to say, pick my brain means I want to come and I want to waste 20 minutes of your time so I don't have to do my research. Or I want 20 minutes of your time so I don't have to pay and go get my MBA. I mean, that's really what it equates to.
Or pay a coach. Right.
Right.
You know what? It's that they've been told one too many times just how special they are concept. It's that entitlement. It's the desire. It's the me first mentality, the me first generation, if you will. I can remember Christmas Eve a few years back, and my nieces are 14 and 21. And I've hosted Christmas Eve since I was 20. And for whatever reason, evidently they lost their minds. dinner was not over, and they both stood up to step away from the table. And this is, I host a formal sit down, and one of them said, "But I'm done." And
my Lord.
Yeah, my sister opened her mouth. I held my hand up and I said, "I'm not caring. You'll notice this. And when the rest are done, you may leave the table. But no, don't." And I remember I was raised to the extent that my mother always said, "I don't care what you do at home. Hang from the chandeliers. But do not make me hit you in front of company." It was a really good teaching tool.
Well, you know what I found is that the dinner table was honestly where I learned a lot of manners, not just which fork to use or whatever, but it was that you were seated and you were listening to adult conversations, what was going on, and one of the things that in my family that it was never spoken that you're supposed to be volunteering and giving up something. But it was because of those conversations. And my parents did a lot of certain level of entertaining of international people. So we got raised with that. And you knew what was expected of you. It wasn't this thing of, like leaving the dinner table, it was like, may I please be excused?
Yes.
Right. You did not just stand up and, bolt away. I will tell you that when it comes to relationships and when it comes to sexuality and getting into relationships, one of the best things that someone can have, female or male, is good manners. Then someone is proud to be seen with them. Then someone will take them places and know they're not going to be embarrassed. I have tale after tale of woe of people thinking someone who dressed nicely, and then they're just, they're just horrendous, like going to dinner with someone who was rude to the wait staff. Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes. That's like, that happens once and it's done. A sandwich is done and done.
I've got a question for you. Do you think people even know the phrase anymore? What are the magic words?
Some do.
I mean, I taught my children them. I'm seeing my grandchildren have them, but I don't see a lot of it from my peers or other businesses and things like that. When someone opens a door for you, you say thank you, or you hold the door for someone else. I can't tell you the number of times I'm following someone who's holding a door for someone. They don't glance back, and the door slams in front of my face. It happens a lot.
Well, when we talk about saying thank you, I remember having lunch with my agent in New York, and she bought lunch, and I said, "Thanks, Deborah." I said, "Very much appreciated." And she just looked at me. She just put her hand, and she goes, "Lou, you were like one of the only one of my clients who has ever said thank you for me buying lunch." I was stunned. I'm like, what?
That's a shame. That's just wrong.
I say thank you to Mr. Rinaldi for taking out the trash, which I think is his
I say thank you and
responsibility
please all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the harm if you say it? None. Zero.
Well, and so let's say, Sam, do you want to, go for the improving opportunities angle?
Yeah, because when you have good manners, when you send a thank you note, when you say please and thank you, when you wait your turn, people notice, and it makes you easier to be included. I've got this thing in my house where I have red light, yellow light, green light kids, and everybody gets associated a color. And this started when they were really small. And a green light kid is somebody who can come over anytime after school, just invite them and then ask me what I'm doing and we'll make it happen. If you're a yellow light kid, that's like, wow, this kid's kind of a pain, or this kid is difficult, or this kid doesn't know how to behave, or this kid can't get along with other kids. And then there's the red light kids. And, when you become a red light kid in my book, you have to seriously earn your way back into my sphere of influence in my household. And I've started doing this with people in the new office that I go into. There's red light agents, green light agents, and yellow light agents. And, those who know how to behave, like if I'm on the phone, this is like my biggest pet peeve in my office right now. It doesn't have the greatest ventilation, so I kind of leave my door cracked, but it's almost closed. That almost closed door does not give you license to push the door open, walk in, and shove a note under my face while I'm on the phone. Mm-hmm. When you do that, I ball it up and I throw it at you.
I don't blame you. I'd wrap it around something. Just give it a little weight. Just me.
A little more heavy.
Yeah. And I know it's not polite to ball it up and throw it back at them, but it's, better than me going like, what is wrong with you? Like,
were you just not raised right? What?
Who is this? The cow doesn't even push a barn door open. What's wrong with you? But
I don't think you can blame this all on parenting. No. I think that others see it's well through the society. And I mean, we each probably have pet peeves, and we can go into them in the third segment if you want. But I think that it's just not something that people are doing on a regular basis, and it's very frustrating.
But you know what? And I have a question for you, Sandra. You have school-age children. I remember back in the 70s when I was in school in early 80s, we had not specific classes on manners and being polite, but we had little snippets that we were taught in school. Is it being reinforced in the school systems?
Not to my knowledge.
With certain teachers. Some of the teachers are they're the teachers that are the quote unquote jerks. Like that teacher is a jerk. That teacher is mean because they expect you to like turn in your homework or speak respectfully in class or not chew gum.
Well, that's how life is.
Yeah.
That's how life is.
It is. We're going on another break. We'll be back shortly. We're talking about manners today with Lou Padgett, Kimberly Rinaldi, and I'm Linda Crater. We'll be back in a few minutes.
We're Dynamic Women Talk Radio, and we'll return after these short messages.
Neurocritics, or the people who study dreams, tell us that the kind of television you watched as a child can affect your dreams today. For instance, if you had a black and white TV, you might be prone to colorless dreams. I'm pretty sure I dream in color, but my friends say it's a pigment of my imagination. It has been suggested the type of cheese you eat can also impact your dreams. This might be a bit hard to digest, but a study conducted by the British Cheese Board discovered that people who ate cheddar cheese dreamt more about celebrities, while folks who ate blue cheese experienced more bizarre dreams. A bad dream could give you matatulapia, or the bad mood you experience when you get up on the wrong side of the bed.
It's
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
Can muscle turn into fat? It sure looks like it can, but the reality is it can't. When you have tight and defined muscles and you quit working out with weights or exercising at all in some cases, it seems like your hard muscle turns to flab. Remember, muscle and fat are two different entities, and one cannot turn into another. What happens is when you stop exercising, your muscle fibers grow smaller, while your fat cells grow larger. With exercise, your muscles make the fibers grow, and when you stop exercising, they reduce in size. Likewise, your body's fat cells can change in size depending on how much fat each one stores. So keep your body fit, healthy, and strong. Keep up your exercise, and don't let conditioned muscles become flabby. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond.
Hey, ladies, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Linda Crater, Kimberly Rinaldi, and Lou Paget, and we're talking about manners. And, you know, what is the role of manners, and why did manners go away? I don't think we answered why it went away, but we certainly covered the results of what happens when manners go away. And, you know, many years ago, I learned the phrase, we teach people how to treat us. Mm-hmm. And when kids come to my house, you know, the kind of the amalgam between East Coast, I'm Miss Beck, and West Coast, I'm Sandra, became the hybridization of I'm Miss Sandra. Because if they're going to persist in calling me by their first name and their parents do not correct them, then I will correct them. And I came up with kind of the idea that I'm Miss Sandra. And, you know, it's stuck and it's worked really well because, you know, Miss Sandra has more rights and privileges than, let's say, you know, Koa and Max and James. But it was an uphill battle with some of these parents. In fact, I had a parent correct me and she said, oh, no, it's okay if she calls you Sandra. And I said, no, it's not okay.
You don't get to decide that.
Yeah.
And she was offended. And, you know, the fact is she can be offended as all she wants because it's got to work for both of us at some level. And this is the thing where manners comes into play and working out manners with other people. I do a lot of fundraising events, charity events, kids parties at my house, and I will specifically put on the invitation, please RSVP so I know how much pizza and soda to order. Ha, ha, ha. You know, we got teenage boys. You know, I try to make it light, make a joke out of it. Of course, people still don't. And with respect to my pool, I do a lot of pool parties. Especially when the kids were younger, I would write in big, bold letters because they started calling me the pool Nazi. This is not a child drop-off party. If your child can't swim, please send them with a life jacket. You know, those little neoprene, you know, buckley things. And I would have 4 or 5 on hand just in case. But, you know, to me, these are real life and death situations. Not the food, but the pool can be a life or death situation. Yeah. And they're like, oh, you know, Sandra's always so concerned about everything. Sandra's always so concerned. Well, you know what? I am
then don't bring your child.
Right. If someone drowns in my pool or we run out of food and I've got 10 kids who RSVP'd and 5 knuckleheads who show up and eat all the pizza and now everybody's hungry, whose problem does that become? It becomes mine. And I think that's where the line is crossed when your desire to be free and easy and make your choices whatever you want to infringe on my right to have enough food at a party or a child who's breathing above the water and not below.
Yeah. One's an inconvenience, the other is a coroner's inquest, and neither is appropriate.
Right.
No, and it starts, honestly, you brought up the point, and this is Kimberly, it starts with you do teach people how to treat you. One of the things I encounter a lot is my name is Kimberly. Those who are closest call me Kimber. What is the most common name for Kimberly is Kim, which I don't respond to. And inevitably, I will introduce myself as Kimberly, and within 2 minutes, somebody is calling me Kim. My new response to this is, if it's a man, I call him Gladys. If it's a woman, her name is now Hank. I'm done.
And, you know,
that's great.
Yeah, people act like I'm the one being unreasonable. This is my name. This is how I identify myself. It's what I've identified myself with my entire life. And what you're telling me is your comfort and convenience is more important than how I feel. And that, I think, is where it starts, is when you first meet people.
Right. Or, Kimberly, it's because they didn't really listen.
Yeah.
And one of the, you know, San, when we talk about people calling you, and you're now Miss Sandra, that's what they call teachers. They've made it a little easier now for people when they go to a physician. They don't have to call them, you know, Dr. Thompson or, you know, Dr. Zeibenheimer. They can call them Dr. Bob, but they still get the doctor part in there. But you're not there to be their friend. That's That's one of the biggest things that I'm like, look, you do not have an association with me. You don't know me. You do not have that social permission to come in and have that kind of conversation with me, period. If you are a colleague, that's different. But I know sometimes it's important when someone does do something nice or does have good manners, I will always make a point of reinforcing and saying, you have lovely manners. Thank you. It was a pleasure to be around you for 5 seconds.
No, I think you're right on that. I think a lot of the time, positive reinforcement is perfect, but the behavior isn't modeled by everyone. And I think there's often a lack of generosity of spirit, perhaps. For example, if you're at the grocery store and you have a couple of things, the person behind 3 things, and there's only 1 register open,
right?
It's normal. Please go ahead. Are you sure? They usually say. I'm like, absolutely. You have only a few things. Please go ahead. And that's just courtesy. It makes sense. Why would you make someone wait when they have so few things? But what I do see a lot is people not making eye contact. Because if they don't make eye contact, they don't have to let you into the lane. They don't have to get out of their seat. They don't have to say hello. They can ignore you.
You don't exist.
You don't exist. And it's a real cutting behavior. But it doesn't speak well for our generosity of spirit or how we treat one another. And that's another thing that seems to have fallen by the wayside, treating like to be treated. I mean, it's very interesting, but it's sad because it has gone away. And it does reduce stress, and you were right about that, when we do know what to expect. So how do we act? And I think you asked this on the break. How do we make sure that we are modeling the right behavior? And I think all we can do is demonstrate it when given the opportunities. And as Lou said, thank people for doing it.
And thank you in front of someone.
Right. And if you're in a position of power, like in my new office that I'm running with Mark, we actually stood up at meetings and we said, look, this is no longer the free-for-all. This is not a jungle. This is not a real estate zoo. This is how it's going to work from now on. That was my point. It's like, you're going to knock on doors and vendors are going to have to check in on the front desk and they're going to have to, somebody's got to call a halt to the madness. And so if it's an event where kids are present, I have no problem standing up and going, all right, you guys, everybody form a line, start a line right here, and everybody will get their ice cream, because there is pushing and shoving at, the baseball game. There's one window and kids are cut in line and, it's every man for himself. And it's like, we've gone from a wonderful society to Lord of the Flies. And as adults, I think it's our responsibility to stand up where appropriate and call a halt to what's not acceptable. I mean, we can do it for guns. We can do it. We've got teenagers, standing up in Florida willing to speak out. But yet, we've got parents watching chaos here, and it starts at the small things. Like, nobody's asking you to run a manners crusade. But if you see things happening, like we're at the movies and we're at a lot of little kids there, and you have teenagers swearing up a storm behind you, you can turn around and nicely say, hey guys, watch your language. There's little kids here. They still might tell you to F off, or they still might pour soda down your back. But, the fact
or the 40-year-old might.
Right. But at least we have a shot. And I would say most people, if you say, hey, you guys, come on, form a line back here. This is getting a little crazy. You can tell people's intention. I'm not a control freak, but I am a safety freak. I just think that we have to all do a little part. And if we all do a little part, things will improve.
I agree.
I do too. Do you notice how, though, what used to be very common years ago, when you would greet someone on the street, you pass someone on the sidewalk, you'd make eye contact, you'd smile, or you'd say good morning or good afternoon or whatever it was. And it was probably the most formal thing you would say all day. But it was ingrained in you to acknowledge the person in front of you. And nowadays, everyone's looking at their phones. I've literally seen personal grooming going on the sidewalk, on the metro. everywhere. And personal means personal, private to me. I mean, I don't really want to see flossing on the metro.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lord. Oh,
I'm
Lord.
not joking.
Oh, no. I watched a woman beside me on Wilshire Boulevard grooming her nose hairs. I swear to God.
Oh, no.
I mean, I'm like, oh, honey, I do not need to see that.
But even something so simple as covering your mouth when you yawn. Do you remember that line in Mary Poppins where she says to, Michael, we are not a codfish? Because it wasn't good then and it isn't good now. But covering your mouth when you yawn or you sneeze, it's not second nature to a lot of people.
No, but again, San, going back to the teachers who are supposedly the jerk teachers, again, they're putting, the boundaries in place. I know for me, I will just say to someone, hey, I'm sorry, but this place was taken, but thank you. And I'm not moving. And I don't scream or yell or, it's just, sorry. But I mean, I watched all kinds of videos of people doing some of the most outrageous things and then people go, oh, isn't this funny? Well, I don't think it's so funny as much as it's a sad comment.
I think it's hilarious. I'm sorry. I'm the first one to laugh when people fall down or people do rude things like that. But that's entertainment. That's not real life. Like, that's, I think, the line. Like, what we do, how we conduct ourselves in real life has to be vastly different than what we see in entertainment.
Or what is called entertainment. And then we also know, as human beings, we are highly, highly programmable. Yes. And we end up downloading that. And then we think, everyone wants to be like so-and-so or like this or like that. And it's absurdity. It's absurdity.
It is absurdity. And, but it all starts with you. If you work your sphere of influence, if you train your kids, you train your friends, you move in circles that there's a certain standard of conduct, life's a lot easier. You can do it in your office. And yeah, you might be the pool Nazi or the, person who cares so much about her office cleanliness, I'll take those criticisms any day, but people aren't going to call me rude and they're not going to find a dead kid in my pool. We'll be back after the break.
We're Dynamic Women Talk Radio, and we'll return after these short messages.
Realize that Twitter is over 10 years old? Twitter was first launched in March of 2006, with the hashtag feature appearing about a year and a half later. Twitter employs more than 2,700 people around the world. Today, there are over 241 million active users on Twitter, with an average of 500 million tweets per day. Now that's a lot of traffic. A lot of new words have been coined from the Twitter app. Tweetheart is your Twitter boyfriend or girlfriend, and Twitterphoria is the feeling you get when they tweet you back. If you don't want to feel like a twittiot when you tweet, there's a whole list of proper twetiquette available. At first, even I was a bit of a Twitterphobe, but if you want to follow me at Too Funny Carolyn, that would be twit-tastic. I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
According to Eat This, Not That, Americans now consume an average of 300 calories a day more than we did in 1985. Watching your portion sizes is a wise practice and can really make a difference in your weight. Eating less is not depriving or painful. According to Men's Health magazine, Penn State did a study where researchers found that subjects ate 30% more food when presented with bigger portions. The interesting thing is that their perceived fullness didn't change when they ate smaller portions. It takes less food than you probably think to fill your stomach. An average human stomach is about the size of a closed adult fist and holds about 2 liters. It doesn't take a lot of food to fill it up. Choose small portions, eat slowly, and make it a point to eat less. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond.
Hey, ladies, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Linda Crater and Lou Padgett and Kimberly Rinaldi, and we're talking about manners. And, I'd like to end this on a positive note because it's actually been really fun. I enjoy you guys a lot. There are certain things that people do that light me up, that make me feel good or make me feel important. And I will say one of the things that the guys at my office do really well, we have one of those doors with a key card, a security door. So especially if I'm carrying something, there'll be like 3 of them that will jump to the ready to open the door. Or when I have pool parties, I have moms. There's always the same 5 or 6 moms that call me and ask me, what can I bring? Now, sometimes I don't need things, but sometimes I do. And then I am always appreciative of the mom that comes to a party and she's like, I know you didn't need anything, but here's a Sprite, or here's a, orange soda, or here's a bag of chips, certain things you can always use. And it's better to have too much than too little. There's nothing worse than running out of food or, being embarrassed because of something, or, showing up with flowers. Like there's another one that I so appreciate when I do these events. And, they're charity events. And yes, people are bringing toys for Tots. I get that. I don't ever expect anything. But every once in a while, there's a mom that'll bring me some flowers, or somebody will make me some Christmas cookies and say, this is a thank you for having us and for all you do for needy children. I mean, those are really big deals for me. I mean, they set me off for the whole week like I feel great.
Yeah. Just a thank you card in the mail.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so unusual these days that you remember those very closely. That's wonderful to get mail that's not a bill. And better yet, that it says thank you for something that you did and would have done anyway. But that's appreciation. I love when we show appreciation for one another. So the smiling at people is so simple, but it says, I appreciate and recognize you as a human being. Welcome to the world.
Right. Well, this is Lou speaking, and I have a little trick that I do when I'm traveling. I go through the airport and I have this thing, where I will make a point. I know I'm never going to see these people again. Lord knows they're going to, Zimbabwe, and, I'm going the opposite direction. But I make a point of saying, they are me and I am them. So I look at people and I'll smile and go, have a good day. I'm so surprised. It's something that I like being able to do that, because I will see someone go from looking down or whatever, and I smile at them and they'll smile back, and I see their energy shift. And, yes, there are times when we do have to be, like, that's it. You gotta, you just have to follow by the rules here. But it's also something that when people know, we train our dogs, we train other things, we train our hair. So why wouldn't we also do that as some way of making our life easier with manners? In the area of sexuality, there's probably nothing that can make a man feel more manly or a woman feel more feminine, depending on who they're attracted to, than someone who acknowledges them for being that, as talked at the break, walking on the street side, opening the door, saying, getting the chair, standing up when they come to the table. Those are the social niceties that those do so much. Those are one of the most seductive things that women have told me will turn their head faster than anything.
Well, it's true. And then I'll go back to what Sandra was talking about, safety things. Driver courtesy is really important these days. I have not seen someone let them into a wave in the rearview mirror in probably a year. And I when did that go away? Because I think that some of these things are really nice. So when you see that there's a long line, you intersperse with the cars and you let people in, or you roll down your window and ask if you can go in. Again, it's making that contact and acknowledging people as opposed to ignoring them. But lights you up, boy, when someone lets you in or holds the door for you or stands up, all of those things are wonderful. And they light me up as well.
Okay, you want to hear something funny, though? Like, you got to also understand when you do something nice for people, they may not know what the hell is going on. Because when I was in Anaheim and I was out to dinner with with Mark, and we were walking to the restaurant, and we kept turning because, like, it was like you had to turn left here, walk down this street, turn right here, go this block, turn here. It was down by Disney, and it's kind of a little windy. So he kept jumping to the curbside, and I was talking to him, and we'd turn the corner, and then I'm like, where'd he go? And I'm like, he was just on this side, and now he's on that side. And then we'd walk a couple blocks. I'm like, oh, look at the twinkle lights. Look at the Disney light. He's like, where the hell did you go? Like, what are you doing? And I finally said, why are you jumping from one side of me to the other? And he goes, San, the man walks on the street
outside, right.
I've been out and about for, I don't know, 30 years. And it's been that long since someone did that courtesy. And, he turned bright red. And I'm like, no, it's really nice. I like it. I'm sorry. I'm just such an idiot. I didn't even recognize it after all the rudeness, you know what I mean, for like so long. I mean, so if you do something nice for somebody and they get a little weird or they don't understand right away, just roll with it because the intention is there. It feels really good. But like in my case, I had no idea what was going on. I'm like, you got ants in your pants? Is your foot on fire? Like, why are you kind of hopping from side to side? So, it goes both ways. There's some of us don't have that receiving kind of down.
But
that's a good
Mr. Rinaldi is a door grabber and stander outsider on the road. We'll go out with couples who are older than us, and he'll come get my door and inevitably have to get sometimes the other
door.
Yeah, but I love him because he used to not say a word. Now he's like, "What the hell's wrong with you? Why aren't you getting the door for your wife?"
I will admit, Paul is the same. But what happened is, when he went to college, he did not know what, he didn't know about table manners. He didn't know about a whole range of things. And they had a specific course that he took. And that is how he learned things.
Smart.
And I have to tell you, if he had not had good manners, he would not be in my life.
Here's the thing. We have access, and it's immediate. It's at our fingertips. We have access to more content, knowledge, and information now than ever in the history of the world. Why aren't they Googling this?
They don't know enough to Google it.
Yeah.
I mean, the word etiquette is rarely used.
But, I think there's also things that, I think we've seen the pendulum swing about as far as it can one way.
Yeah,
I hope so.
Do come back to, a state of normalcy that, because people want to be around other people. Mm-hmm. They want to, that right now everyone's staring at the phone when all four of them are sitting at the table. Well, that's exciting. But what I look at is that they still want to feel connected, but they're getting, in certain fields, they call it, donor fatigue, when people are constantly being hit up for donations. People are also getting technology fatigue. And I think that's going to shift and change things, because if you don't have the ability to establish eye contact and start a conversation, you're going to be spending a lot of time by yourself.
Yeah.
And it's a learning curve. It's a practice.
Right. It's a skill like anything else. When I spent, after my divorce, I spent like 4 or 5 years in the Bat Cave over here and, just doing programming. And I didn't talk to other human beings. I talked to little beings, like my kids. And I spent most of my time on the chat in the sidebar for the programming jobs that I was doing. And I actually, the ability to hold a conversation, look somebody in the eye had completely atrophied in my world because I didn't use it. And I would find myself going out every, blue moon, like 2 or 3 months and meet up with friends. And very hard for me to sustain eye contact, very hard for me to even focus that long, and very hard for me to string a noun and a verb together that didn't come out my fingers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
I do too.
I've been cloistered the last year or so. So, I love that we're looking at this as what can we do to influence the people around us. How do and I've done it tongue in cheek, and I know it can be taken brusquely, but Sandra, you're a mom. How do I approach without doing the, hey, who does this kid belong to, and why can't you raise him so other people can stand to be around him? How can I approach someone and make a difference?
Well, here's the thing. It's like, it's all in the intention. If you come in and you criticize, or you come in from a frustration standpoint, you're really going to be met with, like, I'm going to bust your head if you talk about sideways about my kid, but if you come from the standpoint of the kid's safety, like, I always try to find the positive, like, wow, I don't know if you really want him sticking that shovel in his ear.
He might not be doing well licking the light switch.
Good for his hearing. Or like even my ex-husband and his wife during a pool party, she wouldn't even talk to me. She wouldn't even look at me. But I made a joke. I leaned over. I'm like, hey, you really want your son to be a human lightning rod? Because it was the middle of a lightning storm, and he decided he was going to take the aluminum rod, and with his friends. And, it was the only thing I could think of to kind of make it light and joyful, as opposed to watching your kid get electrocuted.
Good move, Sam.
Yeah. I mean, and I would agree, if you come in with this is Lou speaking, if you come in with a cautionary thing of going, you know what? By the way, that may not be the best way to approach this. And because sometimes if people know you're trying to help them, typically they will listen.
Right, it's your intention. It's your intentional energy. It's your word choice. If you're soft about it, if you're gentle about it, people don't feel attacked. And when you're talking about somebody's kids, it's really hard not to feel attacked.
Have you ever been where there's a very young child and you see the mother there, but they're not paying any attention, and it is an unsafe thing? It's usually my habit to go right to the child and talk to them and say, honey, does your mother know where you are? Which one is your mommy? And that's where you get them pointing. And that's where you find a very grateful mom. Because we all know that you can take your eyes off for 2 seconds and things can happen. But if someone else is looking out, it makes a huge difference. So thank you, ladies, for talking about manners today. I think we've resolved that we all need them. We do better with expectations of how to behave, and we model it for others so that we are adding a little bit of grace to the world each day. At least that's what we're trying to convey. To Dynamic Women Talk Radio. You can find out more at dynamicwomentalkradio.com. And thanks. We'll be back again next week.
Thank you for tuning in today to Dynamic Women Talk Radio, and join us each week. You can find more shows on dynamicwomentalkradio.com.